Welcome to the Banega Swasth India podcast. Our focus is one health, one planet, one future. Our aim is health for all and leaving no one behind, because Swasth Bharat is Sampann Bharat. I'm Ambika Singh Kama, and today, on a Mother's Day special, we have with us mother-daughter duo Geeta and Sharanya Chandran. Geeta Chandran, a Padma Shri Awardee and founder president of Dance Academy, Natya Vriksha started learning dance at the age of 5 and Carnatic music at 7. She says that her mother has been very instrumental in what she is today. Carrying forward the legacy, Ms. Chandran introduced her daughter Sharanya to dance at the age of 4. In this special episode, we speak to the dance duo on motherhood, self-care, mental well-being, and using dance as a tool to create awareness. To begin with, Geeta ji, take us back and tell us about your memories when you were growing up with your mother.
Oh, my mother has been very, very instrumental in what I am today. Actually, both my parents, but my mother particularly, because she was a homemaker and I was an only child, and the focus was on me. And of course, academics was very important in our house because everybody was a doctor or an engineer or a chartered accountant. So studies was, of course, very important, and my mother used to be very, very particular about it, to assign a particular time for it. But she also felt that dance music was something that we loved at home, because we were all rasikas and we used to go and listen to a lot of music, watch a lot of dance as a child. So I think there is part and parcel of our lifestyle then, Entertainment then was either going to a movie occasionally or going to theatre, music, dance, so that was really the way we spent our time. So she thought that I should formally start learning at the age of 5. She took me to my first teacher, Srimati Swarna Saraswati, and started me with dance, and then with music. At the age of 7, I started learning Carnatic music. And I think life was very, very structured. Time management was something she really believed in. So there was a time for dance practice, for music practice, for studies, for play. So she managed that beautifully for me and put down the timetable. And I think I take back that with me, and I'm very particular about time.
So she had a huge impact, in your life. What about you, Sharanya, with your mom? What have your memories been, considering that your grandmom also had that with your mothers? What were your memories?
Exactly. So I think my mother really continued this philosophy that my grandmother had. And, I grew up in an environment where she was very particular about time and all of these things that, she spoke about, multitasking. And she was kind of a role model. Because we looked up to her, because she was always multitasking, being able to do so many things and juggle so beautifully. So that's something that I now try to do try to be a mother. I'm a mother of a 3-year-old and I have a professional career as an economist, and I'm continuing with dance. So I think that philosophy has kind of resonated. But as a child, I think I was initiated into this world of dance right from the beginning, because dance was all around us.
So Geeta ji, how important do you think is the role of a mother, or the motherly role in an artist's life?
I think the mother's role never stops. Initially, it's physically tending and, doing all that. Then I think it's this whole thing of educating the child, of giving the best values that you can give to the child. And then, of course, mentoring them as they go along, whether you need to say something at a particular time or not say something. These are things that you always kind of build a relationship. So I think the mother's role never finishes or ceases to be. She's always there for the child,
As an artist, or even a mother, today you're a mother yourself, how important is that role of a mother? Which, like I think Geeta ji rightly said, it just never finishes.
I think it's constant teaching and learning, as I'm realizing from both ends now.
Yeah, because you're... Yeah.
But I really feel that I am special because, and I'm very privileged because my mother is also my guru. So she plays this dual role of being not only my mother but also my guru. So it's a very special blessing and a relationship, because she's a friend, she's a mentor, she's a guide, she's a co-choreographer. We share the stage together. I've done Natvangam for her, she's done Natvangam for me, and so it's really this very special bond that we have, and the colors and the nature and the relationship keeps changing based on different roles that we play, and it's a constant pleasure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure and blessing, I think, what you rightly said. Tell us about your relationship with your mom, and how do you see that reflecting between you and Sharanya today?
I think it's pretty much the same. Many of the things that I hated my mother saying, I'm saying exactly that to my daughter now.
So it goes back and you think.
Yes. So I think you journey together, and you realize that some things she said with a certain amount of wisdom that came at that time, which you couldn't really understand at that particular time. But now when you look back, you say, yes, that's exactly what I would have done, had I been in her position. So times change, we evolve. Of course, the relationship is much more, I think, though I had a very lovely relationship with my mother, I could talk anything with her, it was not kind of inhibited, but I think with her it's even more transparent and more, we are friends first.
I mean, beautiful actually, like she said. So obviously different roles, friends is really important. Then you said she's your guru, and of course your mom. How do you look at it? Of course your child is 3, is a little young, but what all do you see that, when you come to your mothering your child, what would you take from your mother?
I think just keeping him on track. It's sort of, I don't even know what to say, because he's just so naughty. But I think the general discipline and just keeping to time and having ek shraddha honi chahiye, just having that kind of respect in general for everyone, and the family, your peers, everything around you, just having that bit of the values that we always hold very dear to us. I think that's what I will try, and I'm trying very hard.
The gender thing is very important. I didn't have a son. So when she had a son, the first thing I said is, now I have a challenge in front of me, because I always believe that the mothers of male children have a great responsibility.
Greater, yeah.
Very, very great responsibility, because, I think the women have moved much faster than the men, and the evolution and the sensitivity that is required, and to keep pace with the way women are moving ahead. It's very, very important. So I think that is something that we both are very sensitive about, that, we need to create a person who is respectful of gender, of being inclusive. That is very important.
Geeta ji, how have women been depicted in art forms, whether it's classical dance like Bharatanatyam, because it's a rich part of our heritage?
Bharatanatyam is mainly women-centric. In fact, most of the content is a naika or a heroine either talking to her friend or talking to the Lord directly or talking about bhakti and things like that. So there are various themes that we have in the traditional repertoire, and we get to choose what we need to do and what we don't need to do. I felt that the vocabulary of dance is so strong that it is, kind of able to say anything and everything. So I felt that as an artist, I have a social responsibility also. I need to echo some of these issues, and that's when some of my friends got married and they had bad relationships. I was seeing them being kind of abused, and so all this was working in my head, and I came up with work which reflected all that.
You have done a lot of performances when it comes to social issues. What were those issues, you closely feel about, which were relevant and they needed to be brought out through dance?
I think gender has been one thing, environment has been the other thing. I've handled stigma through dance. I've also recently done, not recently, maybe three years back, something from Jaina philosophy which talks about multiple realities. So I think in today's world where we're getting very polarized, I think we need to accept and respect all viewpoints. So this was a great, Anekanta was one of the philosophies in Jaina philosophy where they say that there are multiple truths and it's never absolute, nothing is absolute. So with time we change our perspective changes. So I think we need to be much more, as I said, inclusive.
You know, when you talk about inclusion, I mean, sanitation, of course, we've been talking about it, is a very important aspect, especially for women. And unfortunately, many women in our country don't have the basic right. So you've spoken about, you know, a lot about that everyone has a right to a clean toilet, but the person coming after you also has right to a clean toilet. It's a constructive right and duty. Can you tell us about this initiative which you started in 2018?
This was after traveling so much, the length and breadth of the country, and also traveling outside to other countries. One realized that we don't teach our children to use toilets. They might be from very privileged backgrounds, but they still don't know how to leave a toilet once you come out, and that the next person coming also, as I said, has the right to a clean toilet. So this is kind of worrying me as to we focus on so many other things. Why don't we focus on this very, very basic kind of a thing? I started with my own studio toilet, you know, where I started observing and I started seeing that these are children who are brought up in a metropolitan city like Delhi. They go to very, very good schools, but yet they were not sensitive to leave the toilet clean. So, you know, we started from our own space and we started teaching them as to how important it is to leave a toilet clean. You can use it and then you leave it clean for the next person. I started talking about it in every program of mine as well. Before I start a program, I would kind of say a message and leave it with the audience to kind of think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Actually, I mean, that does make you think, because you think having a toilet, but what about the next person?
Absolutely.
I mean, you see it everywhere, any public place, whether it's even inside a plane for that matter. You know, so that's.
I was just going to say that. My God, aircrafts are a nightmare. You don't want.
And then you don't want to go towards the end of the flight, which is so true. Geeta ji, when we talk about gender bias, again, we did speak about women's, health, sanitation. But menstruation is still a taboo in our country.
Yes.
Don't you think like there's a mix in some parts of our country? You really, I mean, you're celebrating, menstruation, whereas in some places women are ostracized because they are menstruating.
Yes, of course. I come from Kerala, and I remember in my ancestral home there was a separate room for the women who would be having their periods, and the food used to be tossed like that to them, and from there now my family has moved, and how. So, I think there is a generational shift, of course, and films are also helping. The Padma, I think, was a great film to really to talk about it openly, and I think it is making a difference now, and things are getting better. But as you said, there are still areas where, because India is such a large country, that what holds good for us really doesn't hold good for many of the areas. So I think we need to still talk about it wherever we go. We need to say that there is no taboo, and it is not really a crime to have those very, very natural, physiological things that women go through. So yes, talking about it, discussing, and schools, I think, have a very important role to play, where the teachers have a very important role to play, and I think they need to kind of pitch in much, much more.
And I think, again, what you said earlier, the boys. I think the boys and the men also need to be sensitized about this. A lot of your choreography and yoga practices focus on the body and mind, aiming to sensitize the need of mental well-being. Again, we've been talking about mental health, a huge challenge in our country, especially when we talk about mothers. They tend to forget themselves, and everything else is first. What would you like to tell the mothers of our country, that what are those little bit exercises, how could they take care of their mental well-being, or the journey of self-care?
I think dance is not really only a performative art. The process of dance is so enriching, so I feel that there have been mothers who have come to bring to make their daughters learn dance, and they themselves enroll too. So I just feel that an activity like dance is catharsis for some people. It is an aesthetic experience for some others. It is linking with our culture for some others. It's a communication tool for some others. So I think it's so many dimensions. For some, it's a great spiritual exercise. So dance has so many different windows through which you can reach the process of dance. So because of that, I think dance keeps you happy. And being happy is the first thing that you need to take care of yourself. And during the lockdown, I think what we learned is activities like dance was what was keeping us, stopping us from going on a downward spiral. Because we were physically active, we were moving. People were not moving. People had become couch potatoes, just sitting in a place and working. And they couldn't run. Children were not going to school. So I think dance really kept them active, kept them focused, and because of that mind and body coordination, I think they were much healthier. And because of that, what happened is, because the classes were happening in the homes, mothers would also join into the class, grandmothers would join into the class. So it was kind of an activity in the home that people look forward to the class, So it became an activity. I really saw the power of dance, how it could engage everybody and make people happy.
Just a last question, since Mother's Day, and obviously you've spoken about your mom and with Sharanya, a message for all the mothers out there that how can they really take care of themselves and also, prioritize their own health in this whole journey while being a great homemaker, a great person at work, in every aspect, but how can they really take care of themselves?
I think 1 hour for yourself. This is the mantra. 1 hour of something that you love doing, and the family has to respect that time. Give you that 1 hour. And, like I have students who have now, during the pandemic, have come back to dance. And they've told their families online, this is across the globe, who were my students and who unfortunately had to relocate. And now they've all come back and they told their families, that 1 hour, I'm going to dance, and nobody is going to really interfere with my time. I think time is the essence. You need to keep that some time for yourself, to either read, to go for a walk,
whatever
to dance,
you enjoy,
to sing, to even listen to music and just sit in a corner, and do nothing. Nothing time, what we take for children.
Me time.
Me time, nothing time for mothers. I think that's very, very important.
Thank you so much, Geeta ji and Sharanya, for joining us today. It was a pleasure speaking with you. That's it on the Banega Swasth India podcast this week. If you have comments, queries or suggestions on the topic we discussed today, or issues you would like us to cover in future, write to us on bsipodcast@ndtv.com. Remember, BSI stands for Banega Swasth India. You can also connect with us on Banega Swasth India handles on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and continue the conversation through the week. Till next week, this is Ambika Singh Kama signing off. Stay healthy and stay safe.